Welcome to Getting Real with John Natale. I'm your host, John Natale. Today, guys, for episode 76, we are back. We are live. It's been a little bit since you've heard a brand new episode here on Getting Real. I am excited as hell for you to listen to this one. It is a great interview with a fantastic agent down in Jacksonville, Florida. I didn't come back with just a small episode. I came back with something you're going to absolutely need to hear today. This interview was fantastic with Brad White. He's an excellent, pretty new agent. I think he's going into his second year here in real estate, and he has absolutely crushed it as someone in his 50s, creating content, growing his personal brand. He has absolutely exploded, and he's done it from nothing. He started from scratch. He moved brand new to an area down in Jacksonville. He left a career, started in real estate, a story we've heard all too often that typically leads with failure. But Brad is highly, highly successful. He's got a huge pipeline of business. He's closing a ton of business right now, and all of it has come from his personal brand. When he moved down to Florida, he knew basically no one there. He did not have a huge sphere. He doesn't belong to the country club. He has built all of his business from his personal brand and content creation. And again, he is not 22 years old. There is so much inspiration from not only his story, but there's so much inspiration to draw from the tactical advice we go over in this episode today. It is definitely something you are going to want to listen to. Before we dive into the episode, I, number one, have to thank you not only for listening to this episode, listening over the last year to Getting Real and everything we've put out there. Whether you follow me on social media, have only found the podcast, does not matter. I'm appreciative of every single time you give me 2 or 3 seconds of your time to hopefully help you grow your real estate business. That is what we are doing this for. Our big mission at Natale, whether it's our real estate company, our coaching company, our media company, or this podcast, Getting Real, is very simple. Is for less agents to fail and more agents to find the life of their dreams. It can happen in real estate. The failure rate is too high, but we are doing everything we possibly can to put out as much free advice out there as possible so you as an agent have a greater chance to succeed. If you're an agent here in New Jersey that is looking for a great dynamic real estate company to join, we have an unbelievable 100% commission model for our agents here in New Jersey. Hint, hint, we may be expanding in 2025. More news on that. But for now, if you're an agent here in New Jersey and you want to be a part of something at the ground floor, as we grow this company, we have unbelievable services for our agents. We have a great commission split. We have all the back office. We have everything you need to be successful. You also get access to everything we're doing on our Natale coaching platform, and you get to grow your personal brand under our umbrella. If that sounds like something you're interested in, there's a link below to very easily set up a call with me and meet with me and go over what we're doing. Everything is no obligation, completely private, especially if you're coming from another company. And we will discuss where you want to be and how we can help you get there. If you're an agent in one of the other 49 states or across the world at this point, go to natalecoaching.com, book a call with me, especially if you want to grow your personal brand, you want to grow your business, you want to grow your life. That is what we are for. We are for agents that want to make a great living, help people in their community, have a highly profitable business, grow their personal brand, and live a good life. It's really that simple. You want to enjoy more time with your family. You want to enjoy the time you have with your friends. You want to live a very well-balanced life, make a boatload of money, and make an impact on your community. Natale Coaching is for you. It is right up your alley. First call is completely free. We'll discuss your options. We'll go through how we could potentially help you, see if it's a good partnership, and then we go from there. It's very simple, guys. natalecoaching.com. All the way at the bottom is a calendar. You very easily go in there and book a call directly with me. And yes, you will see me at that consultation. And last up, if you know a business owner who is looking to grow their brand and their business, we now have Natale Media. Natale Media I brought to the world very simply because I saw there was a very big difference between hiring, a full marketing team or a full marketing company or a full marketing person with a salary, and what we can do to help you grow your personal brand as a business owner. It's what I've done for several of my companies. So if you know a business owner, maybe it could be you yourself as well, that needs help growing on social media, growing their personal brand, and increasing their business, increasing their revenue, creating more profit, and creating more fun for either their employees, their family, whoever around them, NataleMediaHub.com to get more information on what we're doing at Natale Media, where we not only take on the coaching aspect, helping you grow, we also take on the posting, the Google pay-per-click, the website, the everything a traditional marketing agency could do, plus a whole lot more in the aspect that we do the work ourselves. Again, NataleMediaHub.com. So now let's dive into this podcast interview. It's a great one, guys. It's one you absolutely need to listen to with Mr. Brad White down in Jacksonville, Florida. All right, guys. Today, like I said, we have Brad White, rockstar, down in Jacksonville, Florida. He has absolutely crushed growing his personal brand. We're excited to have him here today on, again, the first live episode back in 2025 of Getting Real. Mr. Brad White, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're excited to have this conversation today. Brad, we're going to go over your story. I love your story. I want to hear more about it. We're going to dive into who you are. Then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of what you've done over the last year as a new agent. Again, the reason Brad is sitting here talking to me right now is not because he did it in the 2010s, not because he did it in 2020, not because he did it starting in 2019. He is starting right now. He is starting growing a personal brand on social media. If you're watching this, Brad, and I'm not insulting him by saying this, is not 22 years old. Brad is new to his area as well, kind of when he started in real estate. So Brad had everything working against him. But again, he is the one who grew a personal brand. He's exploded in Jacksonville. He's almost become Mr. Florida for a certain sense. And he's done a fantastic job. So Brad, we're going to break down your story and let's give our listeners just a little bit of insight to who you are and what brought you to Jacksonville, Florida. So tell me, how long ago did you move to Jacksonville?
2021. So my wife and I are COVID transplants. So we, from the Midwest, Illinois, Indiana, we've been married 20 years. We have 4 amazing kids, a grandson and another grandbaby on the way this summer, which is awesome. I mean, you're right there, John, so you understand that. But, a lot of it, we moved down here. We both had remote jobs at that time, and my wife kind of had some medical issues, and the cold climate wasn't good for her. So kids had all grown up and out of the house, so we decided to move down here. So that's the reason. And now I'm coming up on my 2-year mark in real estate. So, and it's been a wild and I would say rewarding ride for sure.
And what made you get into real estate?
Well, real estate's one of those businesses that kind of attracts the career changers. And it's totally my wife's idea because, we bought and sold a lot of homes over the years. I've had a background in sales and management, and real estate. My wife's like, hey, it's a people business. And I love connecting with people. Plus the idea of running my own business, having my own personal brand, doing things my way, especially after doing that corporate life for so long. And the average age of a real estate agent is like 60 years old. So I'm under that number by 4 years. So I should be able to do it, right?
100%. And I sometimes laugh at those statistics because, I started when I was 19 and now in my mid 30s, I feel like an old man. I probably look a lot older than I am, probably from being in real estate for so long. However, I see those same statistics, right? I look at it as a company owner. The average real estate agent in New Jersey is actually, I think, 64 or 65. It's like 64 and a half. And the average broker has about 15 years experience. So most of the people I'm technically competing with, those real estate brokers, are in their 70s, if not 80 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's you're still a young man in this game.
Yep.
That's what's crazy about what's happened for you is what you've built out because you dove all into social media, what you've built out in those 2 years. So let's go back to Brad, almost day one, to day 30 in real estate. What was it like being a brand new real estate agent?
Well, in your mid 50s and you got to pass this exam, right? That was the one thing, so you got to go back and study again. And the exam was, I mean, once you get through that, but then I step in and, you watch videos, you hear people, and Northeast Florida has 11,000 real estate agents. And, these are the things you don't find out until you're already in it. So there's a lot of competition, and I was obviously looking for a brokerage that could help me, at least get a solid foundation, I guess you could say, with some training and that kind of thing. So I'm a day trader as well, so I definitely went with some Berkshire Hathaway because of because of Warren Buffett, but it's really what I needed at the time. And I didn't have that network, so I really didn't know anybody. We worked remotely. We moved down here, didn't know anybody. So that was really, I didn't have that sphere of influence, I guess you could say. And then as a new agent, they throw so much at you. I mean, you definitely feel like you're drinking from a fire hose for sure. But look, for me, failure wasn't an option. So I became a sponge, soaked it all up, started watching this guy from New Jersey on the TikTok. And really started to listening to some of his things. So I decided to join Natale, and definitely thankful that I did that.
Absolutely. No, we're obviously excited to see your growth over the last year plus. So you're starting out. I think your story in there and your answer is what a lot of agents feel. They kind of have a little bit of no idea exactly what to do, and they try to align with some values of how to grow something. And really, there's a lot of competition, no matter where you are. Even if you're in a small town with 500 people, if there's two other agents, it's still a highly competitive market. But it's a very hard industry to break into. What made you, and we're going to go into your social media strategy, but what made you think at your age, and not that you're old by any means, but again, you're not 22, where it's like almost like a prerequisite to being in real estate. You need to have a social media presence. What made you think social media would be the ticket?
Well, I'm definitely outgoing, and I think I thought, hey, let me give it a try. Even watching some of your videos, if you're just consistent and if you do it, and and I look back at some of the videos from a year ago and I think, wow, I can't believe anybody followed me. But you get better at it, and it's a little scary, getting on camera at first, but you just keep doing it and you're consistent with that. And, I definitely found that, at least in my age group, the 50 to 65 range, not a lot of people were on, actually putting their face out there. So, really made a big difference doing it. And I thought, hey, you know what? I don't have that sphere of influence. I don't like to do door knocking. I don't like to cold call people. I got to figure out a way to get some business. And for me, if I could make a video and 300 people watch it, that's 300 people. That's probably better than me making, 50 phone calls. That's just that was my feeling.
No, absolutely. And that's what a lot of people definitely look at when it comes to social media, right? And I talk about this all the time. And I grew up, everything we have here, my team, my business, this company, a lot of it originally came from prospecting, picking up the phone and calling. And it's not that prospecting doesn't work. The industry's just kind of changed a bit. The opportunity with social media is, I think jack of all trades when it comes to business. I think a well-rounded agent does a lot of things for business. They do one or two things really, really well, but there has to be, those 3, 4, 5 places that business comes from over the long run. Maybe not day one, but as you build it out and you start having past clients, and then you're going to build your sphere, right? Count on those people to keep growing is really important. So let's talk some real succinct stories of Brad in real estate. So you got started, didn't know much of what was going on. You got onto social media, started getting some presence there. And again, we're going to get into your social media story. What were some mistakes you made early on as a real estate agent?
Yeah, that's kind of a tough one because you come in and you think you know it all, and then you see all these other agents with listings and sales, and it's definitely a business that thrives on those relationships and mentorship, and you got to be able to collaborate with other people. So it can definitely be a lonely business if you don't have a good network of people, and really to get you in the right frame of mind. But I definitely think, as far as mistakes, I it's time, so once I got to where I could manage my time better and get things done, because I typically have at least a week's worth of content all ready to go. So if something happened and I got sick, I've got at least a week's worth right there. So that's something that I built up. And, I wanted to make sure I had plenty of videos in my drafts.
Absolutely. Were you ever at a point that wasn't the case? It became a little bit, cumbersome for you to do the content.
Yeah, definitely. You struggle at times at first on what to do a video, because sometimes you overthink things and you just make it too complicated. The first video I had that went over 1 million was just the dumbest video, and I was at an open house of my listing, and there was nobody coming in because it was raining. I'm like, hey, let me just do this video, unscripted, threw it together, 5 things you should or shouldn't do or whatever it was, and I got over 1 million views with that. And it really makes you think that, you overthink sometimes. So, and that just comes from learning. So the more you do it, the more you see the algorithm. And still to this day, I'll post a video. I'm like, this thing's not going to do anything. And then it goes crazy, or vice versa. So you just don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about trial and error. And like you said, not overthinking and just putting things out. The consistency is what wins. In terms of the time, you talked about that being somewhat of an issue or a potential mistake. Do you think that had anything going from more of a corporate, even remote, but like not necessarily a corporate job in a cubicle, like with a boss hanging over you day and night? But do you think some of that 9 to 5 typical career transitioning to where you have all this time is an issue or was an issue?
I don't think that was an issue for me, because I worked remotely and managed several people even remotely. So managing that aspect, it was more where to put my time, and where that time is actually going to get some get me some business. So a lot of that is same thing, trial and error, or having a good real estate coach that can keep you on track. And hey, these are the things to make you successful that you can do. And there's a lot of things. It's not just one thing that stands out. You just have to figure out what works for you and be consistent with it.
Totally agree. What's your biggest win so far? So that might be somewhat of a mistake, but what's your biggest win in real estate? What's the best thing that's happened, or great story with a client, someone who really had a challenge that you helped them overcome? What's been your biggest win?
I'm seeing a lot of people from especially the Northeast. They're tired of the high prices and the cold and all that, but seeing a lot of people move down here who have never been to Northeast Florida. They've never been here, and they see my videos. And I've got a lot of people that have moved down here just from my videos. It's humbling, I'll say that, but definitely had a client from Philly, and she started watching my videos. She's like, hey, I'm moving, I want to move down there, me and the family. And just from watching my videos, she flew down, they bought a house, they have a pool, they have 5 Frenchie dogs. They love Northeast Florida, and that there's more people than that. So I think that's probably the biggest win for me, is that first of all, people want to see this guy and look at him, and and to be able to actually want to do business with me. So I think that's a big win on my end.
100%. And especially, I think a big challenge a lot of people have, even with social media, is they look at, which I think if you're watching this on YouTube, both guys here are nothing crazy to call home with. However, the reality is a lot of people look at either someone like myself or someone like you with a big following, a few, actually not even just a few, a lot of other people in our group that have built massive social media followings, and say like, oh, they can do it, but I can't. And they have that limiting belief that, oh, they're able to get business from this because they have 20,000 followers, or they have 50,000 or 100,000 followers, or these amount of subscribers and all this other stuff. Which, yes, does matter to a certain point, but it's very hard in the beginning to not think like, is this really going to work? And to just put your trust into working on something without knowing it's going to work. But I also think that's every single bit of how you get business in real estate, unless you're like ridiculously wealthy to begin with, and you have all these wealthy friends that like, it really doesn't matter to you how much you sell, and whatever, comes in. If you're building something for yourself, whether you're prospecting, doing open houses, you're knocking on doors, you're doing social media content, you're going on YouTube, really doesn't matter, to be honest, right, Brad? It doesn't matter. You're going to have to put your trust into something. So the fact that you were able to have some of these big wins where now people are literally moving to your area because of you. Yep. And that's a pretty heavy statement. And I experienced it here in our area of New Jersey. I had a client last year that closed on a house, And, we were at the inspection. She goes, obviously had a consultation with them. We discussed all this. And she said, you are the reason we are buying this house. We were just like perusing different areas. We're actually moving from Philadelphia as well. Young couple. And they're like, your video about the top 10 reasons to move to Monmouth County, New Jersey. We saw that video, and literally all 10 of those reasons were exactly what we were looking for in terms of where to live. We started researching it more. We looked up prices. We looked up taxes. We looked up all this other stuff. As we watched more of your videos and walkthrough tours and all this other stuff, and then we pulled the trigger and contacted you. And then, a few weeks later, they were under contract on a house. So I totally agree. That's the best stuff, right?
It's crazy. And it's the relationships too. So it's not even necessarily for me, it's not always about business too. I've met some great people, some friends that have reached out that are in the area, or people that are just coming down for the first time and, buying a house or looking at homes or renting. But, my wife and I went out to eat with a lot of people that we've met from TikTok. They're, about our age, but it's that relationship. And I never would have met those people had I not been on social media. So it's pretty powerful.
And that's what's crazy about it. And that's going to segue us into talking about your content, talking about strategy as we move forward here. If you haven't watched Brad, I suggest you honestly pause this video for a little bit, or pause this episode if you're listening, and go pull up Brad White, Jacksonville or Northeast Florida. He's definitely going to come up. He probably has like 7 spam profiles as well, because he's done so well this last year, and especially these last few months. Brad has built everything you see from zero, basically starting out brand new. I think when you started with me, you maybe had a couple hundred followers or a few hundred, and now it's obviously exploded, and the amount of people reaching out is what we really care about. We're going to get there. But do you think there's something there, Brad, because this is what I talk to a lot of people about. Obviously, you were in sales, which all of us in real estate are in sales. But you're also, like, when you watch your, listen, you've gotten a lot better, and we're going to talk about how you got a lot better. But do you think there's something innate in you to entertain people? Like, were you in, plays growing up? Were you this natural entertainer? What does that all look like for you?
Well, yeah. No, I was never more of a comedian. So I was if you're having a party, I grab my guitar and we're going to have a good time. So for me, it's always about having a good time. And when I'm passionate about something, I let it show. And it's not fake bullshit that you see sometimes on Instagram. What you see is what you get. And, yeah, I cuss sometimes and maybe say some things that I shouldn't, but I want people to know the real me, I guess you could say. But, it's when you talk about doing the content, it's you have to be yourself, and that's definitely the key. So yeah, I mean, I love hanging out with people and having people watch my videos and even the comments and everything. So definitely something that I enjoy. Sometimes you think a video is going to do really well, and sometimes they aren't. But it's taken me to different places too. Now a travel ambassador for visitjacksonville.com, that kind of thing. So, a lot of that is, you got to entertain people. And if they like your style, they do. And if they don't, then that's okay too.
100%. Being yourself is one of the most important things. That was a huge turning point for me. And that's what, when I talk about my early journey in social media, it didn't happen until the summer of 2023. I'd been on social media before. I posted videos, from time to time, did a few YouTube videos, all that type of stuff. I did it. But then once I really organically just became myself and let that person out, everything changed. On the agent side, obviously with all the advice I was giving, but especially on the consumer side. And now at this point, like you said, you've made friends from social media. You've made friends from your content, from people reaching out. The weirdest thing to me still is when I go into public and people recognize who I am. Whether it's, the guy shouting at me at Costco, holy cow, I can't believe I'm seeing you. Going to the park with my son, and almost because I talk to a lot of millennials in my content, a lot of people that just live in New Jersey, Monmouth County. So a lot of people see me going to the park with my son, and people being like, oh my God, are you that guy? It's a very strange thing, but that happens when you are yourself. Now, you said 2 things in there. You cuss a little bit, and you say some things people may not agree with or don't like. Let's really start there, because I think that's one of the biggest things that people have to understand is, how do you get over the fact, or how do you get comfortable with the fact that people do not like you, Brad, just from your content? They probably watch it and they disagree with it, and they might disagree with it so much they leave a mean comment. How are you okay with that?
Well, you get a thick skin after a while, and part of that is, even listening to some of the people in our coaching group, is it's engagement, right? So that's what pushes your video out more, is when you have your own opinion and you throw it out there. And that's tough to do sometimes, because you're going to get some kickback. But I know if I throw a condo video out, I'm going to get 100,000 views, and most of them are going to be negative. But and that's okay. That's okay. But a lot of it's education too, educating people on, what's going on in Florida. That's, with the insurance, with the property taxes, with the housing prices, all that stuff. And, some people like it, some people don't. But, I think when when you have that opinion and you throw it out there in the right way, you're going to have a good video. People they're going to say some things.
So do you typically shy away from talking about insurance and taxes increasing and insurance increasing and home prices in Florida, or do you typically stay right on topic?
I'm looking at it a lot, and in fact, it's unbelievable how many people I'll post a home tour video, and people will say, "Oh, you can't afford insurance," and it's not like that here in Jacksonville. And we haven't had a hurricane since 1964. That was Dora, but people just throw it into this group that it's Florida and the property taxes are really high. And so I do get a little frustrated sometimes, because I get so many of those comments. You can't, so I try to do some, follow-up videos, but, same thing. I want people to know I want them to know what it's like, what it's going to cost, property taxes, insurance, why home prices are dropping, all that kind of thing. So throwing it out.
Yeah. So what I want everyone to gain from that is Brad doesn't shy away. He actually leans into it, and I tell everyone this, you don't lean into controversial, in real estate as controversial as they get, topics with stupidity just for engagement. You lead with your opinion, right? And Brad's also coming from data. Insurance, may be higher than other states. If you live in, Kansas and you talk to Brad, you might be like, wow, I can't believe you pay that much in insurance. However, compared to other parts of Florida, it really isn't that bad, or other parts of the country, it's really not that bad. And he talks about that. So he also uses some really engaging hooks. And that's one thing that Brad has improved insanely on. If you go, scroll through all of Brad's content and go back over a year, see what Brad at that point looked like versus his hooks now, it's totally different. So what kind of changed for you to know that like the hook was so important?
A lot of that's trial and error, but I know obviously you and I worked on it quite often. Like my whistle video and the things that seem to be working. I can't believe how cheap homes are in Florida. During my walkthrough, during my tours, you get to where you're like, okay, I need a new hook, but that hook works, and when it works, you double down, you just keep going with it. So the hook is definitely the most important thing, and it takes some practice. I mean, there's times, even now, I may record a video and I may record it 4 times, because you don't want to sound like a news reporter. You want to sound more genuine, like you're actually talking to somebody and providing some value.
Yeah, I love that. And the providing value is a really important part to the content. And if you watch Brad, you'll see exactly what he's talking about. His hooks are absolutely dynamite, especially on the walkthrough tours, which honestly make or break a walkthrough tour. A walkthrough tour could be 6, 7, could be 10 minutes long. And if your first 2 seconds suck, no one's getting past those first 2 seconds. And that's what people don't realize, is if you don't have a great hook for your walkthrough tour, especially, and we'll talk different platforms, but especially TikTok and Instagram, if you don't have a great hook, it's not going anywhere. So that's got to be like one of the most important things. I always tell people 90% of your energy has to come from getting ready for that hook, preparing the hook, delivering it the right way, sometimes refilming it 2 or 3 times so it's absolutely perfect. Because the rest, not that it doesn't matter, the content is good, you have to provide value, but if you can't get people past the first 2 seconds of the video, no one's going to watch the great stuff you have after it. And I see this time and time again when I see agents' content. I'll be like, wow, that was a great video, great information in that video. Like if I lived in that area, holy cow, what great information. And then I realized that, they only have 200 views on it, and it's not just one time, it's continuous. And I say, well, if the hook isn't good, I'm watching to watch for the information, but if a consumer who's got a 1/4 second attention span scrolling their phone, that's a challenge. So what are some, let's get tactical here for the audience. So obviously Brad's in Florida. We've established that. Home prices in Florida have stagnated, maybe dropped a little, depending on exactly what zip code and price point and whatnot.
Yep.
But mostly have stagnated, where other states, especially here in the Northeast, have continued to appreciate wildly. What hooks are you doing right now that are really working for you?
Obviously anything related to controversy. So, condos, if I talk about insurance, home insurance in Florida, and definitely the walkthrough videos, it has definitely worked for me and another agent that I film with, Katie. She's used the same hook, and even it's the same hook. I can't believe how cheap homes, and I don't care if it's a $2 million house. I'm not saying this house is cheap. I can't believe how cheap homes are, right? So, but that's my hook, and that's what draw people in. And you need some movement, you need some action, and you need to practice and see what works. But you were kind of talking about those 200 view, that it's a good video. Well, the important thing is, find a good mentor, find a real estate coach like John, somebody that can really drill down and help you. Because sometimes it's just the little things that John will be like, hey, just tweak this a little bit, and makes such a big difference coming from a different viewpoint. And it really makes a difference to not just sit there and just keep doing the same thing. And hey guys, come look at this house, because nobody wants to see that shit.
Well, they may want to see the house, right? But they're thrown off by the hey guys, or it's John, this is my new listing, or welcome to 123 Main Street, And so Brad delivers a great hook on those walkthrough tours. He also has where he talks about price drops in Florida. So he does a whole whistle thing. Believe it or not, in my age, I actually still don't know how to whistle. Fun fact about John Natale. So I will not whistle right now, but Brad does a nice whistle. He brings his hand across the screen. Again, what I want you to do, like I said, if you didn't already, actually pause this and go watch some of Brad's videos as we're talking about it. Go and do that now. And his hook for if it's a home, I can't believe how cheap homes in Florida are getting. Especially, he's had a few condo ones just go wild viral. I can't believe how cheap condos are getting in Florida. And you can see, guys, if you really think about it, what causes people to get emotional about that, either positive or negative, is, when you use the word cheap, and he's not calling the condo or the house cheap. This is a very, very delicate line here. You never go, I can't believe this condo is so cheap, or this condo's a cheap piece of crap, especially if it's not your listing and you don't want that listing agent or that seller to find that video and call you and freak out. But he's using the word cheap rather than affordable. And he's also making a blanket statement like that causes people to feel some sort of emotion. And then that causes them to run to the comments and say, of course it's cheap in Florida. Insurance is awful. Taxes are terrible. Or sometimes you get positive ones. And realistically, though, all of that negativity to that hook, which comes in the comments, what does that end up bringing you, Brad? Do people actually reach out to you?
Yeah, actually I do. I get a lot of people reach out. Obviously the comments, like you said, there's, you do a condo video or something that's controversial, you'll get a lot of negative, but you do get a lot of positive stuff. And hey, I want more information. And then they DM me, and then they go in, and then all of a sudden it's a lead. And which I've got hundreds of leads here, especially in the last 2 or 3 months, just from these videos. And so definitely, I think, making sure that, you respond to those comments, and maybe you do a little follow-up video, or you DM that person, give them a little bit more information to kind of show them you're a real person and you're out there to help. And then the assholes, I don't even, I'll just say thanks for watching, and I'll give my little peace sign, and that's it. That's the way I deal with that. I think everybody, once you get past that point with the negative stuff, and you're okay with, hey, this is making me money, when you put these comments in there, it changes everything. That for sure.
I would even argue that the name of the game is creating that engagement, right? Like, you won't get, the reason I see a lot of real estate agents who have pretty big followings on social media, but they're still lacking in the getting the business aspect, is when you watch their videos, they may have a following, maybe they had a few videos that went viral, whatever, however they gained it. But consistently, when you watch down almost every single one of their videos, the engagement is not there. And it's because they're probably playing it a little safe. They're reporting on, what's happening in the market. They're giving, a market update. They're maybe doing walkthrough tours, but it's just it's almost like a ChatGPT script. It's like, here is this, the foyer with natural light sparkling through, right? And they're giving they're trying to sell the house, which is not necessarily what you want to do. You want to create engagement. So what's a great way as you're going through the house? So you deliver a great hook. We've talked about Brad's that's working right now. I can't believe how cheap homes are here in Florida. I can't believe how cheap condos are getting here in Florida, or some variation of that is pretty consistent. He does play with other ones. But as you're going through, what's a great way to get engagement?
Same thing, having an opinion. Hey, I love the cabinet, the color of this. And then a lot of too is when you kind of purposely, I could have cut that out and said when I said the wrong thing, but I leave it in there because I know people are going to say it's not intercoastal, it's intracoastal. So you get all this negative stuff because you left that thing in there. So that kind of creates some engagement. And then you want to make it fun. Like I'll do my green screen videos and I'll be sitting on the toilet and, and then people I love it. I smile every time I see you sitting on the toilet, so but it works for me. It's fun for me. My wife, sometimes will walk out and I got my pants down. I'm trying to shoot a green screen video. So that may be a little different. She just rolls her eyes, but you just try to be yourself, but you need to be entertaining and let people know, hey, if you want to work with me, this is what you get.
Hopefully not Brad pants down at a showing.
I leave my clothes on. Thank you.
That's fantastic. No, and that it makes sense. It makes so much sense. And I want to drill down to this. We kind of talked about it before, but how do you get to that point, right? Like if you watch, like Brad, the first time you put up a video, did you pull your pants down? Like I know that sounds like an obvious question, but like how did you get to the point where you've pushed the envelope enough to realize like, okay, I'm just going to let this go and see what happens?
Yeah, that is a tricky question because I do like to toe the line. I mean, I want the controversy. I want people to smile, or I want people to say, look, I don't want to work with that asshole. He doesn't take his shoes off. He cusses, that kind of thing. But I want people to know the real me, and that's part of, the videos is, this is what you get, so if you want to have some fun looking at homes, you want, somebody that can really negotiate, because that seems to be my best, trait that people don't see. But, as far as the content, you just, it takes time and you just have to get your groove. And once you get that groove, you keep building on it,
How consistent do you think someone, if they're starting right now and they're a real estate agent, whether they're brand new, they've been doing it 40 years, anywhere in between, but they haven't created anything on social media just yet, or they made a few posts, they hired a VA for a month or two, they helped them, but it didn't help them get over the hump, and they're right back here and they're starting out again. How do you tell them to get consistent with putting themselves out there? Does it start with, hey, just put out a video a day, really try to push the envelope a little bit, see how the market responds, aka how does the audience respond, and then go from there? Or is your advice to just literally put your head down and create until you wake up a few months later? What would be your advice?
My advice would be obviously you have to be consistent is the key, because I've posted at least 2 videos on TikTok every day for the last year, at least 2. But also, I think if you're thinking about, or you're talking about somebody being new, you got to analyze it. You got to look at what worked and what didn't work. And you got to, maybe go back and find some videos that other people did that did really well and make it your own. And, you keep doing that and you're consistent and you go for quality over quantity, and you get to that point where you're going to find your people are going to find you. And, once you start doing that and you really build on it, I mean, look, November, I had 9,000 followers and here it is February and I'm over 20. So once you get over that hump, and it's a big commitment though. I'm telling you, to have that many videos, to have a couple videos a day that are good quality, you can have time, you can make time for it, and you need to make time, because this is the way things are going in the next few years.
Absolutely. And in there, you said a couple things, and in terms of making the time, I think that's what bristles people the most. It makes it a little bit of a challenge, right? The first time they make a video, it takes them 4 hours to do a 30-second video. But you and I know it gets a lot faster. Even we hopped on this at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8:50. I was like, oh, you know what? I had that idea for that video. I have it written down. I was like, I'm going to film it real quick. And I literally filmed it, put it up on TikTok, put it up on Instagram, put it up on YouTube. And then I was still 6 minutes early for our podcast interview here.
Yeah.
Right? Like you get to a point where it becomes a lot easier and faster. What would your advice be to the person who's starting out and saying, and people have two options, either get up, start creating every day, or would you say, hey, maybe sit down for, an entire morning, try to put together your week's worth of content? Which camp do you sit in? The go as you, shoot as you go, or sit down and bank your content?
A little of both. So I typically will have about 20 videos in my drafts. So, and I know that people think that's a lot, but I might film I might film 3 home tour videos in 2 hours. And then while I'm doing that, do another video for in each home with just the kitchen and then just the bath. So then you've got multiple ones. But I think the biggest thing is having a mentor, somebody that you can reach out to and, get some feedback on. Hey, what can I do? You can sit there and do it yourself, and you might get better over time, but you really need somebody who, if you want to grow faster, you need to have somebody that can help you. You need a good coach.
Absolutely, and I would definitely agree with that. This is definitely not supposed to be a commercial by any means for Natale Coaching, but I always appreciate that, and Brad's going to be there himself very, very soon with everything he's done. Now let's talk about the business that comes from it and what that looks like for you, and like what the leads that come, how you process them. And this is obviously a system we've honestly worked on over the last few months as you've really blown up and have had mass amounts of people reaching out. Again, we're in the hundreds now, not, hey, we have, 10 leads this month, we have 5 this month. It's getting kind of wild. And then we'll probably get to how you're managing it all now, because it's great to have, especially as a new agent, you kind of have all the time in the world. And Brad does other things like the day trading and whatnot. So it's not like he's just sitting there, 18 hours a day shooting content. However, when you're a new agent and you don't have all the business just yet, it is, I would say, easier to become very consistent with content, which is why it's probably a lot better to do it when you're earlier in your career rather than later. But if you're investing into it, you have to do it now. And so, Brad, you got consistent with it. You have to get consistent with it. If you're starting out, you have to get consistent with it. I also love the idea you actually said in there too. As you're doing the home tour, you're also banking another video when you're there, whether it's about kitchen design or, do you guys like this? Or, would you rather do this or that type of video while you're there for a home tour? I think that's brilliant because now you have at least 1, 2, possibly even 3 videos out of one video that you originally went to shoot. But I want to talk about the leads that come from this. We all love having a following. We love seeing you grow from, again, 0 to getting over 10,000 just on TikTok. I think we're at almost 3,500 on Instagram. We're starting to dive into YouTube. We love seeing the following grow. We absolutely love it. However, I want to talk business and the business we get from it and take people through what that lead follow-up looks like, because we have greatly improved that over the last few months as we've gotten those not 10 leads, but hundreds of leads coming in. So how does someone on social media typically contact you? I know there's 3 or 4 ways, but what typically happens for you?
So there's a Linktree link in my bio and in all of my social media. And it's pretty easy. You can click on it and obviously you can go in and set up a home search. You can ask a questions or answer some questions if you're looking to move here. And that's really been the game changer, because once they do that, it gets thrown right into my CRM and then I can follow up with them. And yeah, you're right. Probably close to 200 here in the last 2 months. I got one while we're sitting here. So it's definitely seeing those leads, but a lot of people are from the Northeast, the Midwest, California, wherever, and they're starting to realize that, hey, maybe I want to move to Florida, and, they didn't realize the home prices were, as cheap as they are. So, starting to see those leads come in and then setting up searches for them. Just had a couple from New Hampshire that, same thing. They'd never been down here, came down. We bought sold them. Well, we're in the process buying a home in St. Augustine for a short-term rental. So, and a lot of other people that are coming. So March, April, people are planning trips. We've got searches set up. We're looking at homes, doing virtual tours, that kind of thing. So, and I'll say also, when you're kind of talking about the content, repurposing a lot of it too has been huge lately. So I'll do a home tour video, and maybe 2 months ago or 2 months after that the price drops $5,000. Well, that's perfect. Now I can go do a whistle video showing, the beginning, now that this price is down 5,000, and then I'll just throw in the whole walk tour video right after that. So there's so much of the repurposing once you kind of get that content going that you can use again, which is really nice.
And that's a huge time saver for me right now. And a lot of top creators. I've had some pretty big creators on this podcast, and I've just talked to some off the podcast just about content and their strategy. And one of the things that shocked me the most, and I heard it probably about 6-7 months ago, and at that point I've been creating for about a year. And the guy I was talking to, he goes, yeah, every about 45 days, 60 days, I put up the same video. He's like, I'm continually filming new stuff, but take the heavy hitters that went to, 2, 3, 4 million and just repost them. And sometimes they go to 6 million. Sometimes they don't do as well. They only get 1 million. And I was like, that makes so much sense. You don't have, it doesn't, nothing really changed, right? Especially if it's like a talking head video. So I use that personally, and I know you do too, Brad, as inspiration for a couple things. One is just to repost it, right? Literally just download the file and put up the video again a couple months later. Another way is every single time, at least on TikTok, after a year, it gives you your memories from a year ago. That's been huge for me lately. Obviously, if you don't know too much about my personal life, but my wife and I welcomed a baby in late December. So the last, couple months have been a little thick with family stuff, on top of growth and on top of our real estate company, really having a banner year in 2024 and starting to have a great year in 2025. All these things happening. Content is really hard to keep up with sometimes. So once you have good performing videos, being able to repost them 60 days later, nobody knows. So I just posted 2 that I had from last year where I talked about like the middle class in New Jersey, buying a home, and how the upper middle class is getting gentrified. Both those videos combined have like 200,000 views on them. And I didn't actually do anything. I just took the video from last year and put it back up. And so those are the 3 ways you kind of, make it easy for yourself. Is just to look out and look at your old content, especially once you've been creating. Even if you have like, okay, man, I had a good hook that time. Say you had only 100 followers at the time, and now you have 1,000 followers on any platform, and you had a good video that you think was good, but you only had 100 followers at the time, it just didn't take off. Put that baby back up. No one even, if only 200 people saw it and you go to the analytics and 5% saw the whole video, 10 people saw that video. Go put up that video again. Make your life easier rather than harder. So I absolutely love that you brought that up as a piece of advice as you're growing. In terms of, let's get back to the leads and the follow-up. So in your link tree, what do you think is important to have there?
Well, you need to make it easy. Obviously, you want to have your website where they can go right in and look at homes. You want to have a little information about yourself, and maybe a little bit of a bio, I guess, and then have like we created in Google Sheets a questionnaire that helps me help them to find out, hey, are you moving here tomorrow or in 6 months, that kind of thing. And so just to make it easy for them to be able to just jump right in, because let's face it, people don't like to talk on the phone. Texting is fine, but if you can make it easy for them to just jump right in and connect with you, and it goes a long way. I mean, we're definitely seeing the results for sure.
And the leads that come in, are these awful people you never want to work with? Are they, people that seem like a great friend to you? Where do they fall in that barometer of who they are?
It's funny because they're all about my age, in the 50 to 60 range. And it's funny how that happens, but all these people I want to work with, they're all fantastic people. I haven't run into anybody that has went through my lead gen and that, was an asshole. So all people that I want to work with for sure. And a lot of people that I've met, and they just feel like they know me. I mean, like my wife and I went out to eat with a couple different couples here the last few weeks, and it's really kind of weird because we're sitting in this restaurant waiting for them, and we have no idea what they look like. And they come in, oh, hey, it's Brad, So it's really cool that the people that you're meeting, and whether it be a lead or just from creating the content itself. So really cool.
Yeah, and that's what I found, right? If you put out your authentic self and you're not just, putting up, and this is why we talk about, the faceless creator versus the face forward, the person putting themselves on camera continuously, the difference between the two when you're building your personal brand. The power of putting yourself on camera is people really buy into you. They're really a fan of you. Like, to be perfectly honest, like, I've had plenty of appointments where people ask me for selfies now at this point at the thing. And I'm like, this is, I'm not Ryan Serhant, right? Like, I'm not on a TV show. But people act as if that's the case, and that's a great thing for your business. I'm a natural introvert. It's a little like funky for me. It's a little weird. However, for your business, you could see how powerful that is, where people are drawn to you in almost like a fan-like manner. And on top of that, they're either exactly like you, a similar age, whoever you're talking to in your content is coming back to you. So you get to actually work with, like, I tell people, all of my clients from social media since 2023, every single one of them is the same like process and the same smoothness, literally as if I was working with my best friend. They're not all my best friend. We're not all, always going out to dinner every single night, but it's that same feeling like it is when you work with a great friend that just kind of listens and buys into what you say. They listen to your suggestions. If you tell them, hey, you know what, your wall looks kind of funky here, maybe we should paint this, or hey, we should rip up this carpet and put some new flooring down, it's a little gross. Like, they'll actually take that advice rather than somebody who's skeptical of you, or a for sale by owner that, wants to just drag your commission down. We have never produced higher volume and also made more per transaction than through social media. Do you have any issues or questions come up about commissions, especially on the buyer side, since we've had all these changes with any social media leads?
No, not at all. In fact, if I say I'm at a certain percentage and, the seller's not offering as much, I've been able to go to the buyer and, hey, no, we'll pay it, So definitely, I think you're right. I think, they've really got to know you from watching the content, and they feel like they know you. They feel like they trust you. And, the cool thing too is it's, obviously real estate's very progressive business, and you kind of build that momentum over time. So, and I'm starting to see that definitely the last few months here, it's really taken off, which is exciting, but what's going to happen in another year from now? It's as you keep building and you keep growing and you keep meeting these people, I'm really excited about, where it's going to take me here in the next couple of years.
Yeah. And that's, and the cool thing is obviously you've built this quite a bit in just a year's time, but the potential for personal brand, this is what I always talk about in my content, is that a personal brand is worth something, right? Like, it's not just a business where it's, your sphere is always calling you, which is perfectly fine. We talk about that all the time about how to leverage your sphere. Great for your business. But if 100% of the business you have, you go through ebbs and, valleys and peaks and all this other stuff, where if you have a personal brand, you don't really ride that and it keeps growing. It's actually kind of insane. How do you manage your time now? Now we have a few hundred leads. We're closing business. We have people in process, under contract, going through all this. How do you manage your time now more than you had to in prior, months, or really even last year at this time, to make sure the content's still going out so you continue to grow?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. You batch content. So I like to do when I know that it's slow and I've got some time, I like to go in and knock out several. Like, last night I knocked out about 15 videos. So some of them are a little bit smaller. So I definitely think the walkthrough videos, the home tours, are really what makes the difference in your content. So, being consistent with that. I've got another agent that, we do 3 to 4 a week. And that's a pretty good commitment to take 3 hours to go out and do 4 home tours. But, what it's going to do for your business. So you continue to do it, and you keep getting better at it. And then you were talking about your personal brand a little bit. So I want to kind of talk about, nobody knows what brokerage I work with. Nobody. They have no clue that I work for Berkshire Hathaway. No clue. And that's pretty humbling as well, because that personal brand that I've built, it's me. So it doesn't matter if I go to a different brokerage or whatever, people don't have a clue. And that's the thing that's really going to be the game changer here the next few years.
I think so too. What do you kind of foresee for what's going to happen for you in your business, right? Like, we've gone from almost zero, right, to now we are succeeding and closing business, but we also are realizing how many leads truly come from this. Where does this go from here for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it only continues to build, and you know, it obviously we talked about it being progressive. As many people that are interested in moving, that maybe they're in their mid to late 50s and they're thinking about moving here in the next 2 or 3 years. I get a lot of that, and I've got a lot of those searches set up, and sometimes people just want to come down and rent for a few months to figure out exactly where they want to live. I've got several of those that we're going to be selling homes here in the next few months, so I'm excited about what's going to happen because it's really blown up the last 3 months. And if it continues to blow up like that every 3 months, then yeah, I'm not sure where it's going to take me, but I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
I love that, and I love the attitude of just being excited about it. Right, it's a powerful thing for obviously for you, for your business, for your life. What scares you about either content or being in real estate over the next few years?
Nothing. I'm not really scared because, obviously 2024 was probably the worst year, since 2008 in real estate. And, it's going to have its ups and downs. There's no doubt. I learn something new every day. I like helping people. I think I'm going to be just fine. I'm not worried about it at all, about, being scared. I'm older, and that's the challenge for being a new agent. They tell you, hey, you're going to go a few months without making any money. It's your own business. It's like starting a small business, and you're not going to make any money the first year or two. That's the way normal small businesses are. So once you get that build up, that momentum going, then, sky's the limit.
Absolutely love that. What else? Let's dive a little bit into what you're kind of doing now, because obviously we have the whole. We're sitting here, we're recording this, mid to end of February. This episode will probably be up in a week or so. Last month, I think it was actually a month ago today, TikTok got banned, right? But you've also gone into other platforms and have started succeeding there and really just kind of taking your content, putting it elsewhere rather than having a distinct strategy just yet. Some different things we're doing. We're not putting up 3 videos a day on every platform. But you've gone over to Instagram, and it's nothing shy to talk about. We're at 3,500 followers.
5,000 actually.
5,000.
I had a video went crazy here the last few days about the agri-hoods, and yeah, it's 200,000 views. But yeah, so I just went over 5,000 on Instagram.
Okay, so my point there or my question is, what are you doing specifically, and also has that started to turn into leads just yet?
Yeah, actually, I had a guy reach out from Instagram and said, "Hey, I'm in Orlando and I want to go look at homes in Palm Coast." And so that's definitely, I'm getting the leads from there. Obviously, picking up the followers, and there's a lot of questions. A lot of people are asking, if they're not from around here, they are asking questions about property taxes and insurance, and oh, I thought this and I thought that. So really, I call it the promised land, because it's not a lot of people think or talk about Northeast Florida. It's, always Miami and Tampa and Fort Myers and, all that. But I call it the promised land because there's so much to do, 22 miles of beaches. And, we can go on and on about why I love this area. But once you have that passion and you're telling people, I think it resonates with them. And I think that's when, they're actually looking at, at moving. And that's Instagram, obviously started, YouTube. I post on Nextdoor, LinkedIn, all those. I try to post something, at least every day on all these different platforms to at least throw it out there. Who's going to see it, where it's going to stick, we don't know.
What's your typical process? Do we post on one platform and then just copy and paste to others? A lot of agents always have that question.
Yeah, I do. I copy paste, your description, your hashtags, copy all that, throw it in. Obviously now my home tour videos want to keep it under 3 minutes. So for reels and that kind of thing, we'll drop that down under 3 minutes. But yeah, I mean, I'll post just about everything I put on TikTok. I'll put out on the other platforms as well. They're doing it. So that's kind of been what's working for me.
Makes sense. And I like that. And if you're, let's kind of wrap this up a little bit. A couple more questions on advice. First one, let's stick to content, then we'll go more broad in real estate. But you're talking to a brand new real estate agent or someone brand new to content. Sorry, let's start there. You're talking to someone who's brand new to creating content to get business for their real estate business, right? Not just to get a few likes on social media, to actually get business from it. What is and you only get one, what is your one piece of advice to that agent that wants to grow by creating content and by growing their personal brand?
A 2-in-1, since I only have one, but don't overthink things. And people love seeing homes. Those are the two things. We're selling real estate. So get out there, put your face out there and see what happens. I mean, you don't know until you try, but I can tell you the next few years, if you're not creating content, you're going to struggle in real estate. So you need to get your face out there and not just have the B-roll videos. You need to actually have your face out there. People want to see. That's going to be the search. They're going to search TikTok or Instagram or that's going to be the new Google. They want to see you in action and what you're doing. So my advice would be to start that right now.
Absolutely makes sense. Now let's kick it just in general to a real estate agent. So someone's brand new in the industry. They just entered the industry last month. What's your one piece of advice to that agent?
There's a lot of noise out there. You can watch all the social media platforms and there's some good advice, there's some bad advice, but find a rhythm and a groove and stick with it. And, for me, I heard a year ago, hey, if you post a video every day for a year, it'll change your life. And I can attest to that. It's definitely changed my life. So that's what is working for me. So I think if you're a new agent, you need to find a good mentor. You need to find somebody that you can work with and that, can help you and you can help them. So, I think content is the game changer, but just stick with whatever it is that you're going to do and don't give up, because if you're going to door knock every day for a month and you're not seeing any results, and then you try something else, you got to just keep doing it. That same thing, you've got to stay on it.
I absolutely love that. And I think talk about that a lot, the new agent trap, where a lot of agents come in, they try something for 2 months. They say, this doesn't work. Let me go do this. This guy in my office is doing this. Let me try that. Do that for 30 days. Stop. Give up. Do something else. It's called shiny object syndrome. You keep going towards something else that will be it for your business. Where if you just stuck with that first thing that you kind of went all in on, you got to that 6, 9, 12, especially 12 months later, everything would have changed for you.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that advice. I think that's one of the best pieces you can absolutely give. And this has been a fantastic interview. I hope everyone, whether you're watching this on YouTube, you're listening, Spotify, Apple, really anywhere else, I hope you've gotten a lot of inspiration from Brad, his story. I hope you've got a lot of tactical advice about how to actually grow and what this look like for you, no matter your age. You don't need to be 25. You could be 75. You could be 80. You could be 60. You could be 50, 40. It does not matter. You could find your audience on social media. And I hope you drew a lot of inspiration from that. Brad, I have one more question for you before we wrap up. You get the opportunity to sit down and meet, maybe go to a playground, maybe go somewhere else, wherever, slice of pizza. You get to meet 10-year-old Brad. You get to sit down, like I said, right next to him, across the table from him, and to tell him, either a piece of advice or something. What do you tell that young boy that you're sitting across from?
Well, first of all, that kid wouldn't listen to a damn word I said. I can tell you right now, at 10, at 20, it doesn't matter. That kid thought he knew everything, but I would definitely try to get it through my head to be a good human, help others, live, I guess, the life that you want. And that's really all that matters. Success doesn't mean how many homes and how many boats and how many, it's the legacy that you leave behind. And I think if you're a good human and you help people, and they'll help you. And, I think that's probably the advice if that kid would actually listen.
Probably not, but I do love the advice. I love the introspective advice that you're giving and whatnot, and that you give yourself. So Brad White, this has been a great, fantastic interview. Appreciate you hopping on and getting real.
Thanks for having me.